So, I mean, first of all, thank you guys for being here, and hopefully you didn't have too many corners to get here, because my feet are already soaked and I only had 2 corners. So, thank you for being here, and I'm hoping to give you guys some insights into, I've been a wedding photographer for the last 25 years. I'm still running the studio thanks to my 2 new partners, Karen and Tim. Karen is here today, as well as taking over at WPPI last year. So it's been an interesting transition. I've never done or had a real job prior to, well, I guess my studio was a real job, but had a real job where I worked in an office. So it's been an interesting 18 months for me. And WPPI, fortunately, is something I knew a lot about as a speaker and going to the show for the last 10 years. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that, but more importantly, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about where WPPI, where I think wedding photography is going, and I think photography in general as personal studios and as small studios going. I'm going to say a lot of things today and make a lot of statements. I figure you should know who I am. This is my family. We live in a little house out in Rahway, New Jersey. And this is some of our beach vacation photos. I always start with this one because I call this the fat Groupp family and the skinny Groupp family there. So my wife and I decided to go on a diet last year, and between the 2 of us, we've lost almost 100 pounds. So that's been an interesting transition. Growing up, I grew up in Rockland County, New York. Anybody from upstate? Westchester, that's close enough. I grew up in Pearl River, and my parents were artists, and my dad was a sound engineer in the 70s. He worked for rock bands like the New York Dolls and John Lennon. My mom's a fashion designer who just retired from Brooks Brothers. And my brother Dougie was always an artist growing up, always a painter, taking art lessons. So a very creative family. Except for me, I was a little bit more of the slacker guy, and kind of grew up, and this is one of the things that was always written on my report cards growing up. Jason would be an exceptional student if he only applied himself. So I kind of just tried to stay under the radar. And then in high school, we had to take an art class, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And we had to fulfill this one art requirement. So I figured, yeah, well, let me take this photography class. My dad kind of was interested in photography. He said, you should do this. So one of the first things we did was build oatmeal pinhole cameras in this class. Anybody ever do this? It's a great project. Everybody should do this once. I think it was a really fun way to learn photography that isn't explored anymore. But this was the first project that I did. And I remember seeing that latent image come up in the tray and thinking to myself, well, this wouldn't be so bad to do. This is kind of fun. I was able to smoke cigarettes at the time in the dark room and thought, well, photography is kind of fun. So a couple weeks later, when I met with my guidance counselor, he said, what do you think you like to do? I was like, well, I don't know, photography is kind of cool. Maybe I should apply to some art schools and do photography. This was my dad's response to me going to art school. He wasn't too far off the mark, but I thought that was ridiculous. So he challenged me and he said, okay, tell you what, you want to go to art school? We know that your brother's going to go to art school. I think I want to try and support you, but your mother's forcing me and saying, we should support you in some way. So he said, I'll make you a deal. Apply to art schools, and I will need you to get into 4 of the top schools. So I applied to Pratt and RIT, FIT, and SVA, and a few others. And he said, well, pick the cheapest one of the 4. So luckily, I got into all 5 I applied to 5 or 6, and I got into 5 of the 6. And FIT was one of them, so I decided to go there because it was also the cheapest. So here I am, first week of college, 1988. Still not really taking things too seriously, but when I got to FIT, I realized that this is a group of people who were really, really serious, and I was going to flunk out pretty quickly if I didn't start working a little harder. So I did, and obviously my passion for photography has continued to grow, and I've been doing it for the last 25 years. But I still try not to take things too seriously. As an art form, for me, it's about a life-work balance. Not anymore. All I do is work anymore. But back then, when I was a photographer, it was about a life-work balance, and being able to do something that I really enjoy, and having a life that I really enjoy. And I think that's always been my approach to life. I also like to think big. I am a little bit of a dreamer, and a couple years ago I came up with an idea that I wanted to have a Guinness Book of World Records for the most camera flashes ever used to make a photograph. So at this one conference we were doing, I worked with this conference, and we actually got Guinness to come out and adjudicate this event, and we built these 4x8 panels and made these giant flashes, and this is the actual photograph for the world record. The original idea was to maybe light a stadium up with these flashes or do something a little more interesting than a picture of me in front of 300 flashes, but the adjudicator said, I must see those 300 flashes all going off at the same time. If one of them doesn't go off, it's only 299 or 298 or whatever it was. So that was a pretty big technical challenge. These are all wired up with radio triggers, and I'm actually firing it from a remote trigger. So it was a little bit of an interesting challenge, and we all kind of geeked out. That was the crew that did that, and I'm the only one with the Guinness Book of World Records for it, so I kind of enjoyed that. So WPPI, a couple years ago, or 18 months ago, I had the opportunity to start working for WPPI. It's been an interesting couple of years, and I'll kind of get into that a little bit more. So insights and keys to your success as a wedding photographer. Number one, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me, if you do good work, you'll be remembered for doing good work. But more importantly, I think going forward, it's about serving your clients and building the trust and experience that you build for those clients. And I think a lot of people, especially those who've been doing it for a while, kind of forget that we are there to serve. We're there to serve our clients, and we're there to be there for them. And a lot of it, especially people who don't buy photography every day, we need to build that trust with them. And by building experience through that is a really good way of building that trust. And Facebook just did that in that video that they showed. And being unique, that is a huge part of it. So doing good work. I read a lot on Facebook, I read a lot on forums about photographers who, again, if you're doing it for a while, why are these people getting this? Why are they doing this? Why, they need to work in the industry for a while. They need to, learn photography. And, photography's never been this exclusive country club that we need to belong to. It's open to anyone. So what's going to separate you from that other photographer? What's going to separate you from that person who doesn't do what you do? So doing good work, to me, is paramount to really getting great, separating yourself from other photographers. And if you're doing something that's so unique and so different, photography-wise now, there's nothing that's going to separate. It's just you will be put into a different league. And if you're not doing wedding photography, you're looking to sell your work to an art buyer, or you're working for magazines, you need to create something that is different from everybody else. And that's what will take you to the next level. And by learning your craft and understanding off-camera lighting, studio lighting, whatever it is that you're going to specialize in. And that's a big part of what I'll talk about too, is specializing in what you do. And lighting and photography can be a big part of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't have to be anymore. And that was, I think, the big difference in our huge shift in this industry is in general. Is years when I got started, it was about learning your craft, understanding how your camera gear works, understanding how to load a 120 back into a camera, learning all these things that was so important to take a good picture. There were all these elements. If you shot with view cameras, understanding bellows factor and how to load a Polaroid and all that. We don't need to know that anymore. So taking pictures isn't as hard as it used to be. So now, what is it that we're going to do that, to compete with the others who, can also take great pictures? For me, and I'll start with an example of what I did in my studio and serving my clients. The engagement photo for me was one of those things that was a difficult thing for me as a wedding photographer. And going back 10 years, I used to think, well, the engagement photo is one of these things that I can never really charge enough for the amount of time that I put in for it. And I'm not really shooting stuff that I like doing as well. So there were two problems there. And I think you know, one of the greatest things that we can do with our own businesses is to think inside. Are you frustrated about something? Think about what those frustrations, where they come from, and how can you solve those problems and those frustrations. This was one of those things that really, really used to get under my skin. It was something that I used to charge several, $400 or $500 for an engagement session. Then all of a sudden people were giving it away and saying, well, you get to know your clients, so you should just give it away and do it for free. And it really bothered me. Like, I don't like doing anything for free, right? So this was an incremental shift in our industry, right? We went from a $400 or $500 engagement session to all right, let me get $250 out of them, to let me get something out of them, to all right, I guess I'm giving it away because you have to compete with everybody else. So what is the thing that I can do to build out of this? And I've worked the last 10 years on trying to figure out where the engagement session goes. This has been a big thing for me. How do I make this better? How do I make it about me? How do I make it better for them? How do I make more money at it, which is what we all want to do, right? So here's the problem. The engagement session. So you all work probably and shoot in New York City. For me, starting out as a wedding photographer, I kind of wanted to brand myself as a New York City wedding photographer and you know, be part of this giant big apple. And I was frustrated in the sense that they would say, all right, well, where do you want to do your engagement shoot today? And they would say, oh, well, I think we should do it in Central Park. When you hear that, it's like somebody's digging like salt into a wound. How many of you just absolutely love shooting in Central Park? That's what I feel. You do. All right. Well, I mean, we all love Central Park. It's iconic. It is what it is. But every single engagement session, like, I want to kill myself if they say Bethesda Fountain one more time. So I needed to figure out, how do I get out of Bethesda Fountain? How do I get out of the mall? How do I get out of Sheep's Meadow? Like, I love these places. They're beautiful places, but I have all of New York City to shoot in, and I'm only giving them 1 hour, so there's not a lot of time. I mean, it takes 15 minutes to walk from Bethesda Fountain out to 72nd Street, right? So how do I solve this problem? So I started thinking about it, and I said to myself, all right, well, let me talk to them and say, all right, I will give you, let's do the engagement session, but let's give them, can I get an extra half an hour from you? Can I do a little bit more with you? Can we walk out onto the city streets? And that's kind of how it started for me. And also one of my frustrations was they would meet me in Central Park, and the bride would be wearing a beautiful dress, have her hair and makeup done, and then he'd show up in these, you know, khakis and wrinkled shirt that he wore on Wall Street all day. So that was my big, and then I'd have to try and figure out how am I going to crop him out all day and just get her in my pictures, and so I can get these nice images. So there were two problems. There was that, there was Central Park. So how do I do that? So let me get an extra half an hour from you. So I started thinking about branding this session that I would do. How do I get more out of it? How do I get it so that I'm shooting for myself, but I'm also serving my clients? And I created these things called I Heart New York sessions. And I started combining things like talking them into hair and makeup and talking about their clothing and, you know, kind of working through these sessions. And slowly but surely it started catching on with their clients, and I started to be able to actually charge for these things a little bit more. And it's amazing what happens when you solve a problem. It usually leads to other solutions. It leads to different things. And I started realizing how much opportunity there was just within this brand of I Heart New York. And let me give you an example. So the last, I think this is probably the last 5 or 6 years of sessions where we really started to get into it. So no more wrinkled suits, nice hair and makeup. I'm shooting stuff that I want to shoot. I'm excited about it. We plan these sessions. We work with our clients. And it's created something that we're known for, kind of separates us from, you know, our competition as far as I don't think anybody in the city is doing anything like this. But other opportunities came out of, you know, building these sessions up, and I started realizing that, you know, building outside of just the engagement session was going to be something. We randomly got a call from somebody who was just coming to visit New York City, or we were getting people from out of town who just wanted these with us. So we started, you know, kind of working to market ourselves outside of just engagement photography and serving our clients, but also looking for ways, and a lot of that was organic through, we would share these slideshows and tag these clients on Facebook, and then we go to their weddings. We'd have a guest book there where their friends and family would sign it, and that was a big part of what we did, is making sure that this was in a book form that was shown, you know, at the weddings where other people could see it, and all those people from out of town said to themselves, especially their young friends that they went to college with, maybe, you know, all over the country or all over the world for that matter, started saying, you know, we're going to come to New York and just do this with you. So a new opportunity was kind of built out of that, and it's been an interesting experience for us. But what we also learned from this was building an experience for our clients and working with them to find out what their stories are, what is their story that we are going to tell about them. So it went from being about me wanting to do something better, do better work. It was also a great way for me to train my assistants and my studio managers, or anybody else that wanted to come out and hold a light for me, teach them off-camera lighting so that when we worked a wedding, they would understand that lighting a little bit better, or how to hold a reflector properly in an pressured environment, and be able to work with them over the day. And our clients find, you know, the whole process to be interesting, especially when they're meeting us at the studio. We're doing hair and makeup. We're talking about their clothing. We're drinking. Getting our clients drunk is always a successful way of having a good day. It also makes it fun for everybody else, in a safe way. So yeah, building that experience for them, and we would build these stories out of each day, and we would kind of create, you know, we created this questionnaire that we would ask them. And you know, here's one example of Rachel and Jeffrey. One of the things that we tried to do is to just, I think my goal, and Karen may not agree with me, but I just want to make them look hotter than they are. So, you know, make them sexier than who they are from a photography standpoint through clothing and lighting. And these two really weren't about that. They weren't about, you know, finding a nice restaurant to go to and anything like that. Their session was in the middle of the winter, and they said their favorite thing to do is eat ice cream at the end of the night. And I'm like, it's 10 degrees outside, and we could go to Shake Shack and get ice cream if you'd like, but I think it's going to be kind of cold. And I listened to them, and I said, all right, well, we'll go for ice cream, and that sounds great. And we sat down in the center of Madison Square, and they got their ice cream. We're sitting on the sidewalk, and I just sat there with my camera and just sat on the ground and just let them interact with each other. As soon as they got that ice cream in their hands, they were the happiest people in the world. And they started laughing with each other and talking to each other, and I got this picture. And I never, ever would have gotten this image without doing this with them and working through that with them. And the rest of the day, you know, we kind of, you know, it's cold outside, it's difficult, but this was Rachel and Jeffrey. This was their story. This was about them. This is them sitting next to each other. They had been friends. They've known each other since 3rd grade. They were both, I think she was getting her dentist degree and he was getting his doctorate. And they just were happy to be with each other. They were just kind of like, you know, these kids who loved each other from a very young age, and this was them. So we built that experience, and this is an example of, you know, a questionnaire that I would get some information out of them. And, you know, it says here, you know, we usually end the night by stopping at an ice cream parlor. We're usually looking for, like, do we stop at a club or do we go to a nice restaurant as part of this experience that we build with them? We meet at the studio, we do the hair and makeup, we go out and shoot a little bit, we go for some keeping their bellies full, and a little drunk is a great way to keep them happy. And this kind of gives us an idea of where we want to go for different locations and stuff like that. This couple here, how many of you have had your clients ask you, we want to bring our dog on our engagement shoot, it'll be awesome? Anybody? Yeah, that's a nightmare. That's a nightmare because it's great for 10 minutes and then the dog starts acting up, he's bored, you don't know what to do with him, the dog is misbehaving, it kind of ruins the experience. So I understood that they got this really cute dog, and this Winnie has his own Facebook page, she has her own Facebook page, and I said, okay, let's do this, but I need somebody else to come get the dog half hour into our session. And they said, that's a really great idea. So their parents came and got the dog, and sure enough, 15 minutes into it, the dog was misbehaving and giving them a hard time. And if you're wrangling your dog, that doesn't really work for getting lovey-dovey pictures or smiling pictures or happy. You want to create this happy atmosphere. But we got this shot, which I think is pretty amazing. And again, more going over options with them for as far as clothing, helping them pick things. They're nervous about the clothing that they want to pick. They're nervous about, they want to look great. So we have to help them through those situations a little bit. And this is some of their sessions. So we never would have gotten the pictures on the right. And I love to start, in the morning or the early afternoon, depending on how late it gets dark, and kind of work our way into the evening. And then, of course, being unique. Our personalities are such a huge part of our businesses. We are our businesses. We are, 100% of what that business is about. And I think going forward, and it's funny because I think going forward, it's very important. But I don't think this isn't earth-shattering information. This is something that's been, some of the most famous photographers over the years have been great photographers for obvious reasons. Their pictures were amazing, but there was something about their personalities that really, really turned somebody on. It connected with somebody. And I think if you look back, at some of the most famous photographers, their personalities were a big part of who they were. And, there's something inside of us that makes us different from everybody else. And it's usually things that interest ourselves outside of wedding photography. And those are things that I think are really, really important to explore. New York City was a big thing for me. Enjoying the city and enjoying the culture of New York was a big part of things that I wanted to share with my clients. And with so many photographers, and here's where a little bit more of my insights, kind of going forward. So that was me, and that what I was doing, and we're still continuing to do, and I'll get back to that in a little bit. But so our personalities, we find great ways, we create great experience for our clients, we get them drunk, we have fun with them. I mean, this is nothing new. These are things that we can explore on. But for example, you think about how are we reaching our clients now? How do we get to these people now? It's getting more and more difficult to. Okay, so I make this great book of guest book that I show to all the clients at the wedding. That's a great way to reach new clients. We know that most of our referrals are coming from older clients or from friends or family. So we reach them one way there. We send an email out over there. We hope that they share those images with their friends and family. But it's getting harder and harder to get their attention. So like, for example, Gary Vaynerchuk was talking about, he did a presentation recently, and he asked, how many of you sit, and this is a question to you guys, how many of you sit and watch TV with your laptops in your lap? Just one person? This is bad. All right. Don't be embarrassed. It's a bunch of you. And how many of you watch TV with your laptops and your iPhone next to you? All right. Well, again, almost all of us. And then he asked again, how many of you watch with your laptops, your phone next to you, and your iPad in the other lap? And in the audience, probably about 30% raised their hands. And then he asked, how many of you actually watch live television? And everybody raised their hands that they said that they didn't. So how do you, he was talking to that audience, but how are we going to reach these people? They're watching TV, they're on Facebook, they've got their phone in their hands, they're texting with their friends, and I don't know what they're doing on their iPad. But how are we reaching those people? Like before, we'd get it up on Facebook, we'd share, maybe we'd do a little email marketing, but now it's just so like, it's this, you know? And if you watch any Generation Y people, it's crazy. They're just, the information's coming and going, it's out. So how is it that we're going to reach those people? Sure, the guest book is still a great idea. Sure, Facebook is still a good idea, but we need to find ways to make them pause. And that is our big challenge for reaching our new audiences and separating ourselves from everybody else. How are we going to reach those people, that audience, and make them pause and stop? And the answer is what Facebook said this morning. The answer is storytelling. It's telling stories through your photos that's going to make them say, oh, Sally just had this picture taken, or wow, that's an interesting picture of Sally. And it's not just that, it's the story behind that image. What is the story behind that image? If it's about them being in New York City for the weekend, that's going to make their friend pause and say, oh my God, look at these great pictures of them in New York City. Or maybe it's about something else. It's one of their interests, or it's about them. And those stories that you're telling about them is going to be interesting to their friends. And that is the key. And I think one of the things that I've been thinking about is how do we do that at a wedding? How do we make their wedding just a story about a wedding? Because weddings are the same story over and over again, right? They go to the church, they get married, everybody's happy, they dance, they have some dessert, and they go home. It's the same story over and over again, right? When you get to your 40s, it's the same story over and over again. So where's the interest in there? What is that story that you're going to tell during the wedding that really makes it about them? And engagement is, one of the key factors. So that's one of the things that I think we need to think about. How do we engage with these people? How are we making it interesting for them? Obviously through storytelling, but we all use Twitter and Facebook, and we kind of put out these tweets. What are those tweets saying? There's an importance in those tweets. How are we using those tweets to engage with those clients one way or another? Are we answering questions? Are we asking questions to them? Or are we just broadcasting those tweets? Are those tweets just saying, hey, I'm running a portrait sale tomorrow, I'm doing this or that? Or are we saying, hey, I just had the greatest meatball sandwich ever. Who else has had this meatball sandwich? And using our personalities and our things that interest us and our clients and engaging with them just in that, so that we're connecting with this audience. And that is the future of our industry. It doesn't have anything to do with pictures, nothing. It has to do with the engagement that we can create with our audience. And there are thousands of people out there now. We know the competition is stiffer than it ever has been. We know that taking pictures are not that hard. So being a great technician and knowing our craft, it doesn't matter anymore. Those are the things that we're going to need to find. I'll show you some examples. So a great way to do that, obviously, is to build trust. To build the trust like we do through our I Heart New York sessions, where we build this session for them, we build this experience for them, we create something. We're the experts of New York City. We're the experts of knowing where to take them for cocktails and where to take them for ice cream, and having somebody like Karen in my studio who's the same age as them too, knows their interests. She knows the better restaurants to go to. My recommendations are now lame. But she knows where to go, and we're also delivering value and content that they want to hear. So let me show you one example. I've been talking about myself. This photographer, she's in Pennsylvania. Her name is Sarah Austin. She creates groups for her friends. She's mostly a family and portrait photographer. Shoots mostly kids and family pictures, but she connects with them on a different level and does things where she engages with those people, not only through the portrait session and creates a great experience for them from beginning to end, but also looks for ways that she's building a community with them. And one of the things that she did recently was ask her clients to, and I'm forgetting what it is that she said, she asked the question. I think the question was, tell us why you love your child, or tell us something about this picture that we took of your kids. And I want you to write a note to your kids. tell me something you want to say to your kids. And I remember getting about halfway through this page and there were tears coming down my eyes because they were so beautiful. They were so touching. And she put these pictures up on her Facebook page. And I mean, they're great pictures. I mean, these are great kids' pictures. And there are hundreds of comments on her Facebook page from their friends, their family, and people that they don't know. That's the engagement that we need to create today. That's the importance and the value of those images to that mom, that family, but also like the community that she builds around this Facebook page. This is a page that I want to visit. If I'm a mom and I discover this page, this is somebody who I want to take my picture, right? She's built a huge trust, not only to get these families to post these beautiful quotes, and to tell these stories, but she's built this engagement that is, she's an unstoppable force in her area and outside of her area too. I'll show you another example of us having some fun with our clients.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Matt.
Hi, my name is Megan.
And we're getting married.
October 16th.
You forgot about the kids.
Oh.
How hard is this? I thought we were supposed to say together. What the heck? I wasn't smart in school, but I got that.
I forgot.
So wait, can we get the rules again?
Okay. Name, date. No? Did I? Oh, I made that up. All right, try again.
Wait, what's the? What are the rules?
Hi, my name is Matt.
Hi, my name is Megan.
And we're getting married.
And we're
Together,
getting married.
like as like a voice message type.
We're getting married.
Like run a voice message. Leave a message.
Leave a message.
Hi, my name is Matt.
Hi, my name is Megan.
And we're getting married. Is this like a prank? Is this like Ashton Kutcher coming and you got punked?
So I actually...
So how did I meet Megan? At a party at my friend's house in Parsippany.
At this party in Parsippany.
Well, I knew him before that, and if someone would have said Matt Merrilees to me, I would have been like, ugh. How terrible is that? I'm sorry, honey, I love you.
So, I mean, I actually surprised them with, I didn't use this in their engagement video, I actually surprised them with their slideshow, and I put that was the beginning and the end of their video. And they loved it. It was a great way to show off that was Megan and Matt. They were great personalities, they were a lot of fun. But the trust that we built with that and the experience that we built that night, and was something that they won't forget. They told their friends. We shot a bunch of their friends' weddings too. It was a great way to engage with them, and showing that video. I remember her mom wrote me a note and just said that was the funniest thing they'd ever seen. Again, it's about storytelling. I've been saying it over and over again. This couple here, we spent than we did actually more photography, and we got great shots of them. But at the end of the night, amazingly enough, we were still sober enough to get that shot. And this was them. This was their image. This was them having fun. This was them looking at each other and getting a great shot of them and telling those stories. And we put this picture on Facebook. It got tons of comments and tons of likes, and it was a great way for. We knew that this was an image that was going to make them pause. We could show lots of images and portraits of them in New York City, but this was the shot that kind of described who they were. I mean, they weren't drunks, but they were fun people who liked to go out. Now, the interesting thing that we discovered from this was we discovered that we could take these stories and expand it to an entirely different audience, and expand that into New York City and abroad and worldwide. And we realized that we could branch out into the tourism market. People just wanted engagement sessions, families. It's endless. Well, I think it's 3 million people come to New York City every year. 50 million? Sorry, 50 million. I know, sorry. I was close. 50 million people. Obviously, she's doing more of the homework. 50 million people come to New York City every year. And it's a mind-blowing number, right? If we could just get a tenth or 1/100th of that percentage, Tim knows those numbers, right? So It's funny though, like there was something about this that kind of was holding me back from it. And Karen and Tim were really the ones, when I kind of walked over to WPPI, have really expanded on this idea. And they're killing it. They've expanded, I think, how many sessions did you guys shoot this summer?
75 between like July and the end of the year probably.
So 75 sessions in a couple of months doing a teeny tiny bit of marketing. 75 sessions. What?
We did Guild, that was a big thing.
Oh, right. So you did a Guild City group, that helped you a lot.
Now, I mean, so like we booked for Valentine's Day weekend, I think we booked like 4 or 5 sessions this week. They're just coming up, they're ready as people, and they're all from out of town.
So Karen's saying that all of these sessions are coming from out of town, and it's one of these things too that I think, what's that? These guys are from Calgary. And I grabbed these screenshots, so we created a Facebook page, and you know what I think it's interesting is you know, again, they're telling stories each time, and they're really, really short stories. So Snowden this morning, check out Nikki's session. They have this really neat Tumblr feed that, you know, pulls from all these different sources. I don't really know enough about Tumblr, but they keep telling me Tumblr is an amazing source for doing things, and you know, again, they've come up with this hashtag called Stop the Selfies, which I think is brilliant. So their whole, you know, stop the selfies. Don't come to New York City and do this the entire time. Let us take your pictures and get some great shots, like this one here. So another example of that. And I think, you know, Karen and Tim, who are doing all of these now, they're having a blast doing it because they love New York City as much as I do, but they're getting all over New York. You know, as a New Yorker, you never go to Top of the Rock. You never do stuff like that. And you know, they're getting, they found ways to get exclusive access to get upstairs, and you know, it's amazing up there. And every time you go up there, you could get a different picture. And you know, this was another couple. They were from, where are these guys from?
They're from Long Island.
They're from Long Island, all right.
13-year wedding anniversary.
So there you go. So a wedding anniversary, 19 years you say? 13 years. All right, 13-year wedding anniversary. But how many people in New York that live on Long Island are having their 13th wedding anniversary? And that's like the limitless opportunities that have come out from an original idea. Of course, I think it's really important, again, you are part of your business. So Karen, you know, will always, you know, show a shot of herself, and that usually gets a lot of comments. I used to do it a lot as well. This is one of my favorites. And you know, the most comments were about her polka dot pants, which are awesome, I agree. But you know, it's connecting and engaging. This was something that made those people stop. And the one person who, you know, commented about the polka dot pants has another 500 or 600 Facebook fans, and it's going to reach them as well, or come up on their feed. And it's about just that story. It's Karen's story of loving New York City. It's Tim's story. What?
My favorite outfit.
That's, yeah, I'll agree with you. The boots, there was another one with the boots, I'm sure. I know there was something about the boots. But, you know, this is her way of engaging, and you know, finding ways to connect with other people through her telling her stories of living New York City.
Every time we post something that's not actual client, we get more interactions.
That's not an actual client, right? So yeah, I mean, so Karen, again, she's telling her story, and it's about her, and that's what gets the most interactions, because people find what Karen does super interesting. I know it makes me stop because I'm stuck in an office now. And she's out there enjoying the city, you know, in the way that I used to. That makes me pause. I have a feed of a lot of things. So, you know, like most of us do. It's those little things that make you stop. This is her Tumblr feed. It's our Tumblr feed, right? I'm still part of the studio too. It's just been sad. I have been missing it lately, I'm not gonna lie. It's this winter. They've been able to shoot through the winter. I know, like, you know, going into the fall, you get into December, you shoot that last wedding, maybe you've got one in January, and that time between January and March when it starts to get warm is just brutal, that you can't shoot that whole time. So I'm kind of feeling that this year. So, I mean, obviously there are lots of ways to, you know, market this stuff and figure out, you know, how to do this. And you know where a great place to learn about marketing and business is? WPPI. I'm actually going to have Noah come up because he's going to help me with this a little bit. And I'll be happy to answer your question. Let me just get through this part a little bit because I have to do that. It runs over 6 days. It's 154 speakers. It's over 100 classes. We have everything from a 2-day workshop that starts on Thursday to our print competition, which has been something that's been really interesting for me. I was never really involved in entering prints or print competition. I've judged a bunch of times, but getting to know this competition a little bit has been really, really interesting. It's judged live over 2 days, and sitting in it. I have sat in it before, but if you're interested in learning about composition and the craft of photography, or just want to hear what turns on these judges, like what they really, what makes them, what they like. Myself, as somebody who's been doing a lot more judging of images, it's amazing to me how much I've learned just by seeing and learned as an artist, seeing what they do and what people like. So if you have the opportunity to come out and sit in this live judging, it is really, really neat. And I know that everybody that comes makes it an annual pilgrimage to come every year. So if you want to know any more information about that, I'd be happy to tell you more about it. You can always check out our stuff on WPPIonline.com as far as the print competition is concerned. But we also have a lot of fun events besides our platform classes and master classes. We have Mark Seliger coming this year, who also spoke at Photo Plus, which is another one of our shows, who is an incredible photographer who's giving our keynote this year. He's going to talk about his imagery as well as perform with his band Rusty Truck. So WPPI, I want to have great information, but it's a lot of fun. The first time I came out for 3 days and I slept for 6 hours. I was like, I came home and I'd already been a wedding photographer for like 12 years. Some friends talked me into coming out. I was like, what am I going to learn when I get out there? I don't know. And I went, and I've gone back every single year, because it's not just about the things that I learned there. It's about getting inspired. I come home charged up and ready to, I can't wait to start shooting. I've done shoots out there. It's an experience to get to come out. It's not just the classes. So the keynote, I think, is going to be really great this year. We're having a party at Hakkasan, which is this really nice, brand new nightclub. They claim is the biggest nightclub in the world, as well as some other fun events that we're doing. So if you've never been out and you're looking to get charged up, learn some stuff, WPPI is probably the best value you're going to get for the money. And I think it's something that you would enjoy. So becoming a WPPI member, and I'll get through this real quick. Noah here is one of our membership gurus in the office, so he's going to correct me anytime I get wrong. Mm-hmm. So WPPI is part of the Photo Group, which is also part of Photo District News, PDN, Photo Plus, PhotoServe, which you're very involved with, and we call ourselves the Photo Group. We're no longer Nielsen, but we're the Photo Group. So. That's kind of part of a bunch of different things. And with the Photo Group, we have a bunch of contests and competitions that I think, first of all, have great prizes. Our grand award prize at 16 by 20 is $2,000, as well as some of our contests, which also have great prizes from places like B&H. And you should, they're worth checking out, and I think it's a great way to learn, even if you don't come to WPPI. You're New Yorkers, you should be coming to Photo Plus regardless, and I'll hold all of you guys to it. I've been to every Photo Plus since 1985. I'm not gonna, sometimes it was only for 10 minutes, but I've been to every Photo Plus, and I think it's an easy thing for you guys to get to. So you should definitely come for that. One of the things with our memberships, if you do any of our contests, our competitions, you get Photo District News. You should definitely become a member, whether it's either on the PDN side via PhotoServe or as a WPI member. It's one big membership, and there's lots of discounts to a lot of different places that you're probably already using already, so you might as well get the discounts. I like to think of it as if you're doing any of these things, I think the membership winds up becoming free in the amount of discounts that you're going to get over time. So we have first half and second half in our 16 by 20 via print via WPPI, and then we have a bunch of other contests and competitions as well. I figured out that if you do 5 entries into just 16 by 20, you'd save enough to have your membership paid for. All right. Plus, you get the free Gold Expo Pass. You want to take over on the PhotoSource side a little bit?
Sure, sure. So to break down the savings you also get subscriptions to PDN and Rangefinder magazines. That's a $65 value. You get a Gold Expo Pass to Photo Plus Expo. Now it's rebranded to the VIP Expo Pass. So that's a $75 value. You get a keynote speaker there. You get entry into the expo and a few other perks. A great swag bag. Yeah, so it really does pay for itself if you use all the functions that we have. We really try and it's the Photo Group membership, and it really does incorporate everything we have to offer.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out in the snow.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.